We want to welcome you to All Things Real Estate, brought to you by the GK Group. Now, here are your hosts, Brad Aragon and Gary Kelly.
I am joined today by the illustrious and debonair Brad Aragon.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Doing all right. Fighting a little cold, but other than that, I'm doing good.
You know, you've been fighting a cold for a while. I call it the intentional flu.
Yeah. It's one of those, I don't know if you ever had one, Gary, but it's one of those spring colds when it hits. I thought it was a flu, but I wasn't sick that long that I can classify and get the sympathy of a flu. Although it felt like a flu. I was down and out, body ache and everything. But it lingers. The cough lingers. I'm feeling better, but I can't, the cough is hard to knock. So I don't know if you had one, but
you were freaking taking it easy. Did you go to the Cape and relax, get your feet in the beach?
I cannot confirm or deny it. No, I was sleeping. I was sleeping, man. It knocked me on my butt. But.
Well, let's continue you sleeping and just go into the the show. I wanted to do a little bit different show this time and talk about how artificial intelligence or AI might impact real estate. I had the opportunity to spend some time with a guy by the name of James Becker. He's the founder of Fusion Growth Partners. They're a business growth incubator providing services to small businesses and real estate agents. So he's one of these big head thinkers, thinks about where there's opportunities and then puts his people on solving those opportunities. And of course, charges a fee to do so. I think one of the things that he's been thinking about is AI, artificial intelligence, and thinking about what it might mean to his business and real estate in general. And he had some, what I thought was startling numbers. He says the World Economic Forum estimates 83 million jobs will be lost by 2027 due to artificial intelligence. And he specifically said here, guys that have intentional flu will be first. He went on to say that Goldman Sachs, 18 months ago, they were estimating 300 million people will lose jobs. So his view is that we're in a race against AI, and that he's using examples like AI is disrupting Uber, because you now get an Uber without having a driver in it. And he says AI can process data faster, including analyzing it. He says the thing that's different about AI is that it's like finding a continent of 1 billion people, all with masters or PhDs, who will work for 25 cents an hour.
Right.
So very bright, very cost effective, and they work around the clock. So he goes on and talks a little bit about that, and we'll talk more about that. Brad, in your corner of the world, what are you seeing in this space?
Well, we've been seeing it for quite some time, and it's I mean, from a guy like me that's been doing this as long as I have, it's a little bit frightening, because in a lot of what I do is a lot of analysis, right? If you think about the process of getting, for example, pre-approved, and then having a loan underwritten, it's analysis. There's not a lot of emotion. Unlike in your area, somebody walks into a house. Do I love this house? Do I feel comfortable in this house? Mine is more analytical in nature, my area. So it's numbers crunching, it's income, it's credit, it's assets, it's all of that. And that type of number crunching can be done extremely effectively with AI. And we as an industry have been stepping into that at a very, very fast pace. So, for example, right now we have the ability for clients that are comfortable, and we'll get into the comfort aspect of it in a minute, but we have the ability for major lending institutions, banking institutions, Bank of America, other banks as well, where a client can, through an independent third party, allow access to read their account, right? So we can read their bank statement, their history. Can't transfer money, can't do anything like that. But by doing so, it allows us to get away from requesting bank statements, income docs, verification of deposits on properties, pay stubs, overtime. It just, the system can analyze a lot of this data, and it's fascinating to watch. So we're kind of stepping into it full force. So I definitely think it's going to be in our area. I've actually seen a site. I wasn't real comfortable with it, but I've actually seen a site where the loan officer is virtual. You go on a screen and there's a virtual loan officer. I equate it to the old, I think it was an 80s series called Max Headroom, which was this basically virtual character that was there. Anyway, but this person looked like I look, well, certainly better than me. She was a very attractive young woman, and but was complete creation by AI and interface with the borrower. The interface wasn't as smooth as one would think, and her ability to respond to questions wasn't as smooth, but it was there, and I think it's going to be evolving. So,
I went to Wendy's the other day and went to the drive-thru, and you get the opportunity to interact with their AI. Well, what would you like to have today? Well, I'd like to have a Dave single. And would you like a drink with that? Well, I'd like to have a Coke. What size Coke would you like to have? So I'm going to say that it was a scripted interaction. Did I throw curveballs at it? No, not really. Was it perfect? No. But it was pretty darn good, and it wasn't, if I had to go up to Wendy's again and that's what was there is a way to get a team member on the squawk box. I didn't feel the need to do that. So I think that it's an interesting thing. I also went and saw Mission Impossible with my son this past weekend, and there's
don't give anything away. I haven't seen it yet, so don't give anything away.
There's a number of threads in there that go along these same lines. And so my son was quick to point out, well, if a bad virus was doing something, the virus would be smart enough to replicate itself, so there's not just one copy of it. That's a good point. But I think it is, you talked about scary. It is something that is concerning, because I could envision a day not so far down the road where we could sit with someone, don't even have to sit with them, and we could walk through a property because the AI has a copy of the floor plan and the layout and has built walls, virtually. And you could pick whatever colors you want, just sitting in the comfort of your home. Now, can you look out the window and see that there's a train track there? Not today, but I'm sure that would be coming. So I think that it's a very real possibility for this to impact our business in a serious way.
Absolutely, Gary. I couldn't agree more. I think I don't think it's a possibility. I think it's a kind of a fait accompli. I think this is going to happen, and our ability to kind of address it going into it, or at least, look at it and say, okay, there are going to be certain clients that are going to be more comfortable with it than others. And that's why I made reference to the idea of comfort. For example, my son told me he was on a business trip recently, and he took one of those automated taxis. I don't know how comfortable I am getting in a car that has no driver and having it take me from point A to point B with other cars interacting. I don't know, maybe because of my age, maybe because of whatever it is. I don't know that I've gotten to that point, but I think over time, we're going to be getting to that point. There's going to be, a time where we just have to kind of migrate toward those things, because that's going to be the options that are going to be available to us.
I'm a firm believer, if you're going to get run out of town on a rail, you've got to get to the front of the crowd and make it look like a parade. So I think it's important that we as agents or loan officers really get out in front and think about what our role begins to look like. From my view, real estate people, my license technically, legally says broker, but I'm a salesperson. That's what the license says. I don't look at myself as a salesperson, but that's what the license says. And so I think it's important that we really think about being a trusted advisor and not have that just be words, have that be real.
I agree 100%. That I've already seen that in some of the, the changes in my business when you had a lot of the online companies come on board, and especially some of that have more automated features with it as far as pre-approval and different things like that. I saw a transition, and certain people I was always that style, but some clients want that, and other clients don't necessarily.
Right. Well, you and I were having a conversation about a street in Westboro, and we also know of a development in Ashland where there was a Superfund site, and Nyanza was the name of the company, and that's the name of the site. And if you're doing stuff in Ashland, that's a topic of conversation. You weren't aware of a similar, different type of chemical and different kind of situation, but over in Westboro with Hokomo Pond, right, where they had been doing work with foam poles and dropping them into the pond along with chemicals, and that was giving them long lifespan of not rotting, but it also kind of made the water a little funkified, and there's nothing being built there right now. We were talking about, and Sue wasn't aware of this, that some of the towns around here were going to locate their unified command center over on that property. And it kind of didn't go anywhere because there was some pushback from people saying, no, we don't want to have our precious resource on top of a site like that, even though in theory it's all been addressed over time and is now safe. When I say safe, there's still a fence up around the place, and I don't know if the pump out groundwater is still working or not, but that's all there. So Brad, let's on that happy note, let's take a break, and we'll come back and continue the conversation.
See you on the flip side.
Thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. We'll be right back.